Learn how to read the signs of life, because this is gonna change everything for you. When you understand how life is interacting with you and speaking to you. So let me explain how I do that and how it works for me. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't been here for quite a bit because life was so lively, is so lively. And I haven't had the capacity to share much about it. Also, I wasn't sure if you care about it. So maybe let me know in the comments below if this is something you want to know, like stuff that's going on for me. Because I'm happy to share if it helps anybody. But if not, then I just keep it to myself. But let's dive into the topic. So yeah, life will always send you signs and options for where you're at. And sometimes we feel lost, or we feel like life is working against us or something like this. But actually, this is just the mindset that you're approaching life with. So when you notice, when you're like, ooh, this is me, like this is how I think, like life is always coming at me and it feels like life is always hard, that is literally because this is what you believe about you and your life. And you've learned that belief somewhere along the way based on the experiences that you've had growing up maybe, or later in life. But often, you know, when we are coming to this world, when we are born, we're still so pure and like we have no imprints in terms of what to expect here. And so when we are born as like a very sensitive human being, and we, you know, the people around us are not that sensitive or not that, you know, emotionally intelligent or developed, you know, like for example, an example comes to mind for me. I've always felt really sensitive towards everything. But then, you know, like maybe one of my parents, they, you know, like they close the door loudly. And so all these sort of like sensory stimulations for me were a lot. Like loud speaking and all these sort of things for me used to be a lot. And I didn't even realize that it was a lot until later, until I understood what hypersensitive people are, and that I'm one of them, and that I feel everything so much stronger than maybe some other people. And that I, you know, have a higher sensitivity to when somebody is like walking really loudly or music's really blasting and stuff like that, that this actually impacts me, sometimes in not such a positive way. And I always felt like, oh, I should, you know, everybody else seems to like it and seems to be okay with it. Why is it feeling so strange to me? Until I understood later, that's just who I am. That's just how I absorb life, you know, take in what's going on. And when we feel, or when we learn that, don't be so sensitive, you know, why you're so emotional, like when from the outside questions and sort of critique comes towards you, you may learn, and that's just one example of a billion. Yeah, you probably have your own examples. You may learn that, oh, there's something wrong with me, or I'm too much, or I'm not good enough. Yeah. And those limiting beliefs are getting anchored in who you are. And suddenly you feel like, you know, if you repeat those beliefs over longer amounts of time, like days, weeks, months, years, decades, then you feel like this becomes part of your personality, when it's actually just a limiting belief that is located in your subconscious mind. And as our subconscious mind makes up 95% of our decisions, not our logical mind, our subconscious mind, that means you're not really in charge, or you don't actually, you're not aware of who is in charge. And who's in charge, you know, is the software that's located in your subconscious mind, which is the beliefs that either are supportive or not so supportive for yourself and the world around you. So if you believe I'm too much, I'm not enough, you know, This is what you will focus on with your logical mind. So you have a part in your brain that's called the reticular activating system, RAS, reticular activating system. And that part of your brain is always observing, scanning, to make sure that, the outside world, like to find basically validation in the outside world that what you believe about yourself is true. So if you feel like life is always against me, you will notice, you will for sure find evidence for it. But that doesn't mean that it's true, because the other side of the coin, there's also evidence for that life loves you and wants you to be happy and successful and in love and all these things. But that's not what you take in with your focus. Your focus takes in what you believe about yourself. So when you start working on those limiting beliefs and start connecting emotionally to how that felt maybe when that belief was created, we don't always need to go back to that moment. It's just about, getting in touch with that belief and understanding what do I actually believe about myself. There can be so many positive beliefs, obviously. But what are the ones that feel like they create blocks or sadness or a sense of being stuck in my life? Yeah? Because that's probably why you clicked on this video in the first place, because you want to feel, to some degree better in a way. And if that is so, then feel inside, like, what are the thoughts that I'm telling myself every day? Is it, I can't, I shouldn't, maybe, this isn't for me? So if an amazing opportunity comes your way, that may be a work opportunity, a travel opportunity, dating opportunity, whatever it is, money, whatever, and you feel like you don't deserve it, or you feel like you're not good enough, or whatever, then you may reject it, and you may not even allow yourself to try it out and see if it is for you. Because the belief that is looping in your system may be connected to, oh, I can't, I shouldn't, I'm not good enough. And if that is so, you won't even let yourself try. Or you may even let yourself try, but you will feel anxiety and self-doubt the whole time. But that's okay, because you let yourself try. And then, often people give up because they cannot stand the pressure of stepping outside that belief, stepping outside the comfort zone that they've created about their identity in their subconscious mind. And they will, often quit before they get to where they want to go, because it feels just too pressuring, overwhelming, even unsafe to some degree. So here is my take on this. It's not the right decision to quit, unless it feels like this is really not aligned to who I am. But if you feel like, I wish like this is a dream, but you quit because you don't believe in yourself, or you don't believe that you are capable or enough, or whatever it is that you believe that limits you from allowing yourself to fully go for it, examine the belief. Work on releasing the emotional charge that is connected to that limitation. Because once you release it, this limiting belief will get weaker and weaker, and you will feel more empowered to go for what you want. Yeah, so then you will see more evidence for when you break through that limiting belief and actually replace it with a positive belief. You will see more evidence for that to be true. So I used to have this belief of, I'm not lovable. And when I broke through that belief, I just want to take you a little bit through that, because I think it could help you to understand what I mean. So that belief was probably created at some point in my childhood, and evidence was, kind of like validating constantly that this is the truth. And I believe that because I had a parent that was always angry and had always criticism towards me all the time. And this is not about blaming them at all. You know, they have their own stories, that's okay, whatever. But over time, I was like starting to be afraid to let myself be myself, because I always got backlash when I was just being myself and not focusing on doing everything perfectly. Perfect doesn't exist. It's a subjective view on something that is, impossible to reach, because we all have different ideas about what perfect could look like. So there's no evidence that it actually exists. But over time, I was just getting anxious all the time to, reach that impossible perfect scenario for my parent. And that didn't happen. And I, lost more and more touch with myself and what I want and what I like and how, things look good or right to me. Because I was so busy with trying to meet their needs. Because the consequence would have been, in a way, anger, disconnection, just like not something that I really enjoy to experience. And as I was moving more into like validating this belief, obviously not actively in your mind, but that's what happens if your daily life looks that way. Then you're reinforcing that belief, I'm not lovable, I don't matter, or whatever it may be for you. Then when I moved out at some point, I would see, when I would stay at friends' houses or whatever, I would always be so careful not to, make a mess or something, so that they could not, like, that I wouldn't recreate the situation with my parents. But I was just like shrinking. I was not being fully myself. And I would always feel uneasy. I would not feel at ease at all. And so at some point I realized that I'm doing that because I wasn't aware of that. I thought, okay, that's just me, that's just life. But at some point I realized I don't feel like this is normal. I don't see anybody else being so stressed all the time just by sitting on the couch and knowing, oh, there's a plate in the kitchen that is not washed or something like that. Or I should be doing more, or how can I sit here and relax when there's somebody cooking for me, So these are the tiny things, and that seems so minor, but when in your system you constantly feel inappropriate, that could also be if you have, if you got shamed with your body or how you look in some way, or if you always felt like you cannot take up space, or whatever it is, or you have to constantly look after somebody and take care of a parent or something like this, and you are not able to explore who you really are as a being yourself, as a human, then you may feel like you need to continue doing that even though you're not in the same household anymore, like the parents, or you're not in school anymore with those school kids that bullied you, or you're not in school anymore with those teachers. But the belief, if it was reinforced, sometimes it takes one little event, and sometimes takes, repetition, many days or years over time, that those beliefs get ingrained inside of you. So as we're becoming adults, like we do some soul searching. We go inside and we're like realizing patterns that are not really helpful or not really supportive in terms of living a life that makes us happy. We're not all the time happy. Nobody's happy all the time. Let's be real. But I think we all deserve to be at peace and to like ourselves and to feel like I belong here. And if you feel like you don't, then it's not about the truth that you do not, or that you're not enough, or that you don't belong, or that you're too much. We think those are truths, but let this be a sign to get really curious if there is a limiting belief. So we always believe what we think, but that's not the right approach. It's good to observe, not obsessively, obviously, but to observe your thoughts, especially the ones that feel critical and limiting. It's good to not doubt ourselves, but just question ourselves and our actions. It makes sense, but that doesn't mean you need to go into the self-harming way of self-doubting yourself all the time and being super critical with yourself. If you notice those patterns, then that's likely stemming from experiences that were not really supportive for you and that taught you that there's something wrong with you. And if this is how you feel, then work on examining those limiting beliefs that hold you back and that make you feel like you are somehow not valuable, because that's not the truth. So don't take it as a truth. And life will point you towards it with people that come in your life, opportunities come in your life, or things that happen. So when there's a breakup or somebody cheats on you, ask yourself, okay, where does this resonate with what I believe about myself? Do I believe about myself that I'm not worthy of loyalty, or I'm not worthy of love? Does this have anything to do with me? And if not, that's okay. It's okay also to grieve that something went wrong in the job or relationship, or to own also the mistakes that we make, right? But then it's also good to see, what is life showing me right now? Yeah. If people want to invite you to things and you just don't go and always quit last minute, and you think like, oh, I don't want to go, that's so uncomfortable. Maybe it's for you to learn that you're loved, that you belong, and that people want you in their lives, but you are holding back and you're isolating yourself because that's not something you're familiar with. So sure, it feels uncomfortable when somebody expects you to come to their birthday party or whatever, right? So this is a positive discomfort. This is something where you can be like, this feels really uncomfortable. Let me feel this. Let me process this, and then let me go and let me learn that people are kind, can be kind, can value me, can respect me, can want me to have me in my life. So this is also something that we need to learn, that discomfort doesn't necessarily mean there's something bad going on, but it's good to discern within you, to understand, is this unfamiliar and this is actually a positive thing? So let me, experience the discomfort because it's for a positive reason. Or is it something where I feel like, it's actually a negative experience that hurts me? But then let me feel into, whoa, is this something familiar? Have I been recreating that? I see a lot of people in the comments often saying like, yeah, but love doesn't exist. I don't belong anywhere. People they don't see me and so on. And I respect where you're at and I understand how you feel. I really do. And at the same time, I just want to let you know that it's really, really good to watch your words, read them back, watch your thoughts, follow them back, maybe write them and journal them out, and realize, okay, let me see what this means. What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the world? What do I believe about people? And if you notice, oh, I believe, people don't like me, and you feel always a lot of anger and resentment towards the world, then this is because maybe you feel like, I'm not seen. Nobody sees me. But then ask yourself, where does this come from? Yeah, and you can try to follow back where it comes from, but what's more important even is just to sit with that feeling and not to run away from it and get into your head. No, I see this with clients all the time. You want to run away from your feeling. You just want to go to the next thing, but this is not solving it. This is not going to change your life. You got to stay with the uncomfortable feeling and feel like the anger, the resentment. And underneath anger and resentment is often sadness, disappointment, fear. Because the anger and the resentment, they just want to protect you. That's often a cover emotion. It's a valid emotion, But underneath, once you feel that through, there's more often. There's sadness. And then once you feel through the emotion, you understand where it comes from. So often it's enough to sit with the emotion and feel it through, and then suddenly realizations arise on the other side, rather than thinking your way to, why is life like this? Why is it going like that? Why does nobody love me? Sit with that feeling of, I'm feeling lonely. Sit with it, feel it through, and there will be realizations on the other side. Yeah, where are you maybe taking action to stay in sync with that identity you've created for yourself, where you feel like nobody loves me? So yeah, sure, you isolate yourself. Sure, you don't show yourself to the world, right? Because you feel like nobody will love me. So why should I even try? But this is a limiting belief that was created. You know, you need to think in the way of, there are 7-8 billion people in the world. The number of people you've grown up with is maybe 10, 20. You know, like your immediate surrounding is like such a small amount of people. But based on that small amount of people, you make up your opinions about the whole world. And now you may say, yeah, but all the people that I meet are like that. Yes, sure they are. Because life is showing you where there's pain inside of you, where there's limiting beliefs inside of you, where you're holding back inside of you, where you're not believing in what you deserve or who you are. Maybe you don't even know yourself. So life will always point you and bring you the people that either point you towards the pain, or they point you towards the love and expansion and possibility and potential. Yeah, I think it's really important to allow both. Why? Because it's important to see, wow, where do I have unprocessed pain that maybe I'm not aware of, maybe I'm suppressing? And where, you know, what do the people show me that bring love in my life, where I'm even like, this is so weird, why are they so nice to me? Yeah, you don't trust it because it's unfamiliar. But just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean that it's wrong or that it's dangerous or unsafe. And the opposite is true as well. Just because it feels familiar doesn't mean that it's safe, that it's right, that it's aligned. Okay? So really get curious about what life brings to you. You can do that retrospectively as well, when you feel like, oh, I really want a partner, and you feel discouraged because maybe your last relationships haven't been so loving or supportive and joyful. Just look at, what do all those relationships have in common? What do they mirror? Do they mirror your dad, your mom? Do they mirror bullying? Do they mirror what you believe about yourself? You know, when you feel like, what's a good example? When you feel like you're not enough, you may attract partners that give you in the beginning love bombing, and then suddenly they, you know, stop caring. Maybe they forget your birthday. Maybe they don't, you know, make a fuss for your birthday. Maybe they don't take you out, or they don't try to, you know, have a lovely date or something. So you feel like, oh, I'm not enough because they don't put in effort. But you put so much effort. Yeah, and that's, again, just one example of a billion examples we could take. But life will always show you where you don't respect yourself, or where you have a wound. But on the opposite side as well, life will also show you that you're lovable and that you matter. But that's only possible if you put yourself out there, if you let yourself be seen, heard, if you show up in life. Because when we only isolate and we wonder why we're lonely, then it's kind of like impossible to get in touch with life and let life surprise you in a positive way. You know, especially with the spiritual community and people going through these awakening moments and go into isolation, you know what, like it's good to learn to be alone. It's good to learn to figure out your own problems, to take time for yourself and all these things. But that, I believe, should only be a phase, because we all need other people. And the reality of healing only sets in when you begin to interact with other people, no matter in what way, like in real life, not just online. Because if you don't, like it's very easy, because you figure out a few problems and you live by yourself, with yourself, and it seems easier. But you will only really meet yourself when you meet other people and when you put yourself out and show up in life, because that's when the real triggers are coming up and you will realize, whoo, all right, there is more, So it's important to be in touch with others. And what you gotta get to do is discern, who is good for me, what environments are good for me, what workplace is good for me, what food, what, friendships are good for me. And that may change as you do some, exploration work inside of you and realize like, oh, maybe I haven't gotten this when I grew up, but now this feels really important to me. So that's what I look for in other people. And if they cannot offer that to me, then maybe that's not a reflection of your worth. Maybe that's just an opportunity, being at a crossroads where the universe, where life just shows you, hey, so let me understand you better. Is this what you want? Or do you want something else? And you can always say, thank you for bringing me this opportunity, this person or whatever. Yes, that resonates so much with who I really am. Let's go. Or, it resonates with who I am, but it feels scary. And then you can just take steps to navigate the fear and still allow yourself to go for it. Or it feels like, that feels familiar. I've had this 1,000 times. That doesn't really feel opening. That actually feels like I'm making myself smaller, or I'm feeling like I need to work harder for love. Let me not repeat that pattern. Or you could also say, that feels familiar. That's what I'm used to. Great. Let's run into the fire, and then come out and see like, maybe I needed that lesson. So share in the comments below, how does life show up for you right now? What is it showing you? Try to see it through the lens that I've just explained and let me know what's showing up for you. I'm curious to hear. I love you. I hope you're okay. If you need some support, there's some resources below, like my soul clarity journal is really good to gain some clarity and work inside for a starter, or try some meditation for free. And that's it for today. I see you in the next video. Ciao.